What is up, you lovely listener? Welcome to another episode of Oversharing. Our guest today is a lifelong health and fitness enthusiast who believes in making everyone feel good through the quality of energy boosts and real foods. In 2012, he founded Fitmark, which produced bags designed for meal prep, which is acquired in 2018. Currently, he's the founder and CEO of iWon Organics, a brand whose mission is to make people feel good through those energy boosting real foods. He believes that feeling good starts in the kitchen and fitness is secondary, and notes that a commitment to good nutrition helped him with anxiety and depression, which I'm excited to dig into today. But before I speak too much, please allow Mark Samuel to overshare. How you doing, man?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time to do it. I'm excited to dig into your business. I'm excited to really just learn more about you. We always start these podcasts with, what were you like in high school?
Oh, dude, you don't want to know that. Brutal,
Sounds like I
bro.
really do.
Brutal, bro. I made some major mistakes in high school. I'd say from probably, from 15 to 18, and then actually probably years after that. I made some big mistakes, and found myself in trouble a few times, serious trouble a few times. I chalk it up as just a lesson learned. A lot of my experiences, in life and in business, and I often look at that way because you have to. I think it's also why I have a unique story, specifically where I'm at now. I'm older now. I have a couple kids. And through my life's experiences, which are pretty unique for somebody in my position, I have a story that can tell that really a lot more people can identify than the straight path to Stanford, and I raised venture capital, and then I did this, and my group of friends are all high level, this, that, and the other. I jokingly say I've still got the same five homies that I had when I was 10. You know
Nice.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not all big on that whole your network is your net worth. It's bullshit.
I love that that's counter to basically what every entrepreneur on the planet says.
Yeah.
So I'd love to dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think there's more people out there, specifically consumer wise. If you're building a CPG brand, a brand or a product for consumers, the reality is there's a lot more people that look like me, or have a story like me through failures and bad decisions, and kind of a tougher upbringing, single parent household, that type of thing. And I lean into that. And I have, I think, a lot more empathy. I think I'm a lot more sensitive. Sometimes people are like, man, you're an aggressive dude. They also know that on the flip side, I'm very sensitive.
Right.
And I think that's just through trial and lesson learned. And, I think that there's a big value add to that.
So you mentioned that you feel like you made a lot of mistakes in high school, or maybe you absolutely did make a lot of mistakes in high school. Can you tell me about one that you felt like was pivotal to your trajectory in life?
I won't necessarily talk specifically, but I found myself in juvenile hall a couple times, a few times, and so where mom had to come get me out, and I was making bad decisions. I knew that I was going to succeed. I don't inherently, like, deep into my core, I knew that there was value that I could bring at my later stages of life, right? When I would get my shit together. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe I needed to make a few core mistakes, go down the bad path, fighting and things like that. Like, just there was this energy, there was this negative energy that was coming out of me, and I wasn't able to grab a hold of it. I wasn't mature enough, and I made bad decisions. And so again, in hindsight, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, I can respect that. What do you feel was like that pivotal moment when you did start to make that change for yourself?
I think I was early 20s. Living in San Francisco, I oftentimes joke about, the closet that I was living in the back of my cousin's apartment, and, didn't have money, and, all this cliche stuff, didn't have very much money. And I was finishing up school. I did get myself sort of acclimated and went to state school here. Was finishing it up, knew that I was going to be doing something on my own, and transitioned into an opportunity in real estate finance, and I was successful out the gate. And I think it was seeing exactly what I believed I could be, or I should be, or I wanted to be. I think once we individually have those moments where we can shine, right? Where we can self-reflect and shine, and don't push it away, as oftentimes we may do, especially someone who, like myself, struggling with certain things individually. We oftentimes push it away or create hurdles that get in the way. I was able to grab a hold of that and say, that's the road that I would like to go down. And again, still made plenty of mistakes, over the last 18 years of my career. But again, I think it was grabbing onto something that I wanted to be and still want to be. I'm not done. I'm not done. There's a lot of teachings and learnings and opportunity that I still want to hone in on to be better.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to a certain extent. You mentioned that you grew up in a single family home, or your single mom raised you, correct?
Yep.
And then, from my experience, like my dad wasn't around during the most pivotal times of my life, basically through 17 to 17 to now. Basically, he was in and out of jail as well. And that kind of led me to make some poor decisions and kind of go down a weird path. But I found a mentor and a professional poker player, as well as my uncle. Was there anybody for you that was a mentor for you through that to help you understand that you were capable of more and kind of direct you down a better path?
That's a good question. I had the person I mentioned was an older cousin that I was living with for a couple years, and it was right at that 20-year-old mark. And he was successful. He was this gregarious, funny, like people loved this guy. And I saw that and I absorbed that. There was something very cool that I saw in him, and I believe that was an opportunity for me. I believe it was something that I really did want to grab a hold of. And he actually later passed away at a young age. That's a hope for a separate story. But I think that potentially was one. I talk about my mom often. I just phone with her, like, I've got a Jewish mother, so that's a whole other story. I continuously want to get better, right? For the right reasons, for maybe because of the past period of my life. I want to get better and achieve and leave, again, kind of cliche-ish in this legacy format. Like, what will people really remember me for? What will they say? I hope it's for all the stuff that I'm able to do and achieve and impact now and in the future. So again, going back to it is, I think there might have been that element as far as my cousin, but really it's for everybody. It's for my mom, it's for stuff that she had to deal with, and just making impact there.
Yeah. When did fitness and health become such an important part of your life?
I was luckily always involved in sports. And that was part of what helped correct me a little bit. Even through high school, I had to maintain some sort of discipline, even though I was falling off in other areas. And then post high school, I found the weight room. And so it was really City College, San Francisco, dirty, nasty, 19 years old. And I found it, and I've again, never left it in all sort of platforms of fitness, but that was when I really found it.
So you mentioned that currently you believe fitness second, but like feeling good actually starts in the kitchen. Was that always the mindset for you, or is that something that you discovered later on?
Good question. It happened simultaneously. Because I found the weight room and I knew that there was an element of nutrition that had to be combined in order to see physical results. The mental did not come to play until, again, I was a lot more reflective about what was happening with me. What was I feeling better mentally because of my nutritional habits? So I found the frozen chicken, bags of chicken, the white rice, and those were really my meals, more for economic reasons, right? But I knew discipline-wise it was going to be about lean proteins, healthy carbohydrates, and some fats. So I found it really simultaneously as the weight room, 19 years old or so.
When did you discover that like entrepreneurship was the thing that you wanted to like go after? I mean, you mentioned that early on you knew that you were going to do something for yourself, but like for me personally, I didn't even know that it was like entrepreneurship was really a thing. And when I started the business, and then I guess it became cool or something like that. So I'm curious as to when that revelation was for you.
It's not cool, folks. It sucks. Don't get it twisted, okay? You want to cry at night? You want to have anxiety? I don't know what people are talking about. It's cool shit. You know what? It was early. Again, it's one of those stories, you know, where I was selling I was like in middle school, I'd make my mom bring me to this Asian market. They had these specific sour candies, and I would sell them at my middle school. And then in high school, I got into selling cars. I would just buy these really beat up cars at that time. I would have killed it now because that time it was the newspaper. So I'd buy anything that was under a specific price of probably about $400 because you could beat up cars, and then I'd flip them for a couple $100 more. So it was early. It was when I founded the first real estate finance company. I was 22, 23, that I knew that this was what I was going to do for the rest of my career. Didn't know it was going to be specifically in that channel, but I knew I would always work for myself.
Gotcha. And then you started Lane Fitness?
Lane, yeah.
Lane Fitness, my bad. Lane Fitness in 2008. That was a pretty tough year for a lot of people. And it seems like that was kind of like a short stint. Were you affected by was that business affected by that crash in 2008?
No, we actually crushed it.
Nice.
This is just a coincidence, but anybody who's listening to this would know who LaLanne is, and you don't, and I didn't generationally, but Jack LaLanne is the most well-known fitness guru of generations. He was a long story there, but Chris LaLanne, who's his great nephew, and I founded what was then the first brick and mortar CrossFit gym in San Francisco. So if you think about it, it was right when CrossFit was starting to come up. And so oftentimes there's a couple categories that don't get affected by recessions and the like. And one of them is usually fitness. And especially at that time, CrossFit was just emerging. So we had a very, very healthy business. And I got out of it after a year, more because I had a different vision. I wanted to do it on a much larger scale. I wanted to stamp them out. And he had a family, he wanted to be more family, which is cool. And I just went off to do another venture.
I love that. Now you mentioned that nutrition really helped you with like anxiety and depression, which I find really interesting. Obviously, like you eat different foods, you feel really good. As much as I love a pizza, I feel a lot better after a salad type of thing, but this seems to be really specific to you. Can you dig a little bit into that?
Yeah, I knew I was cut differently early on. I would have moments of obsession and OCD, what most call OCD. And then mild anxiety was forming, and then just feeling lows. I would get into these very deep lows, which again, most would deem as depression. And so that was early, I'd say probably in late high school, and then coming out of high school. And even now, it's something that I know is in me. And so people often don't like to talk about it. It's it's a mute conversation, but it shouldn't be. It's all good. You can be successful in your own right. And I'm not talking monetary. I'm just talking about in your own right here and in here. But you do have to pay attention to certain things. And one of them for me, again, not wanting to go the medical route, right? Not wanting to pop a pill and the like. I worked on my nutrition and I still continuously do, but now it's just part of me. It's a lifestyle. So I say this with sensitivity and empathy. It's very difficult. I have a good relationship with food. I totally understand what proteins, fats, carbohydrates do for me. And secondarily, there's a reason why I need to stick to it more than others, is because it makes me feel good. And if I fall off of that, if I do eat more pizza than I should, more burgers than I should, ice cream, anything high in sugar, I can feel that here. I can feel it here and in here, and I don't like that feeling. And I wish it would go away for anybody out there who feels that way. And again, I can lean into the empathy side of it. So if you can get a hold of that, and start slow, just work on your nutrition. I'm telling you, there is a great, great benefit. There's a great result from eating the right foods.
Just from like a really high level, what do you think is one of the first things the average person, not when I say average to the listener, that's not a derogatory term, but somebody that doesn't know much about nutrition, just trying to get into this, what's one of the first things that they can cut today to start feeling better in the next couple of days?
I would say it's easier to look at it like this. Don't overdo anything, right? We try to do all of these things because we see so many words and names and descriptions of it, and they all have to do with diets, right? Keto, paleo, zone. Fuck, dude. No. Like, what I would say is start simple. Write down a bunch of foods that you actually like to eat, that you're okay with. And make sure they're the healthy ones. I love pizza. I would love to go crush a large pizza. I just don't, right? I don't want to do it. But it's not to say that I won't have a slice or two of pizza. I had a half a burger last night. See, that's the thing, is once you've defined all the healthy foods that you're willing to eat and stick to that 80% of the time, you can still have those other things, those indulging things that you enjoy without getting so worked up about it, right? The thing that we have going on and have always is that we often feel like we aren't making the right choice when it comes to food. There's this element of being uncomfortable when we're making food choices, and that's not how it should be. And again, I say this with empathy and sensitivity. It's not easy. So write down those few good, healthy foods that you enjoy. If you need somebody to double check it, call a friend, call a trainer, go to the local gym, call a health person. They'll help you. They'll tell you, and stick to that 80% of the time. And don't forget, it's okay. Indulge every so often. That would be that's like my core suggestion when it comes to food.
100%. I like that, actually, just writing down what you like first, instead of like people associate these diets with like a big sacrifice that they're going to make, like, fuck, I got to eat kale now. You know what I mean? So your strategy seems a lot more attainable than most of the strategies that I've heard in the past.
Yeah. I mean, man, let keto, I'm not trying to, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, but I'll tell you this. You don't want to eat carbohydrates. You don't want to eat carbohydrates, low to no carbohydrates. Come on. That does not have a long-term result that's going to be successful. It's not attainable. Now, I'll give the caveat, and it's, there may be times that you should, if it's prescribed by a doctor, that you shouldn't have carbohydrates for some reason, medically, right? I get it. But for the mass consumers, for those, you, me, your sister, your brother, have a healthy relationship with foods, healthy carbs, fats, proteins. Work that into the system.
100%. Man, you seem like a guy that has really good, really good systems and really good habits. I mean, like, you don't keep as much energy as you do. You don't keep as fit as you do while building a business without those things. What does the first 2 hours of your day look like?
Nice. I have 2 young kids. And I have a woman who I love dearly. Most people don't know this, but I was divorced a couple years ago, and I'm blessed, like so blessed. I have a woman in my life that is just amazing. So the 4 of us wake up early, and there is a routine, but my routine as far as a nutrition piece of it is I have a shake, right? Water and some protein as of my first get up and do. It's but I've been doing that for literally 20 years. So I don't downplay, like, it's just part of what I do, and it's a regimen, and I've never missed a day. And so then it's just, there's a lot of love in bed. We all cuddle for, 15, 20 minutes. We all are getting up. And as far as this morning, making lunches, getting that prepared, and then I'm in the gym. And in this scenario, it's a garage gym, and I'm fortunate enough to have an outfitted garage. I pulled the cars out, and it's literally a garage gym with everything that you would need. And so my lady and I, we get a workout in for no more than 50 minutes max. I'm not that person touting you need 2 hours in a gym. That's bullshit. You just get in, put your intensity up, and get a workout in. And then, it's more time with the kids, and then getting them off to, in this case, we have a camp that's actually operating right now, which is very cool. And then we get to work.
Yeah, I love that. What about like the mental aspect of what you're doing? It seems like there's nutrition, there's obviously the morning workouts with your wife. Is there anything that you do, like, mentally? I mean, a lot of people use these 5-minute journals. They use, they meditate every day, something like that. Do you have that aspect? It sounds like it's a little bit of like spending that love and quality time with your family is where you get that, but I'm wondering if there's anything else for you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't. The idea of like reading a book, or if people are like, you should read this leadership book, or, a sales book. I mean, I think the idea is cool, and, or like, get motivated, Tony Robbins and all. Like, I totally get it. And I respect it. And I think that there's a lot of value to be had there. I just don't have time. Mm-hmm. And I'll say that, and I don't wish to make time. That thing people say, I don't have time, but you kind of do. When they don't want to work out. I actually say, I don't have time, and I'm not willing to make time for that. I do lean into, I'm a big lover, man. You called me out, like, dude, I'm like, I get more passion and sort of drive and push from my family.
Yeah,
I do. If they're happy, I'm happy. And I take that happiness, which is a core piece, a fundamental piece to being successful throughout the day. And when I say that, I mean successful at work, successful with relationships, successful with nutrition, successful with your exercise. You do need to be mentally in tune. And for me, I call out that word of happiness. And they give it to me. And so, there's going to be obstacles and things that come your way. I get punched I say it all, I get punched in the face every day. I jokingly said about being an entrepreneur. No, this is a rough road, but I love it, and
Yeah.
I'll never do anything different. And I'm in love with what we're doing here at iWon. And so, the core fundamental piece, it really is that I just enjoy being loved, giving love, and then enforcing that happiness gene.
So iWon Organics, you brought that up, and you have a great track record of businesses that you've co-founded, that you founded. You sold off Fitmark in 2018. That's a huge accomplishment in itself. But I really want to get into iWon. You guys are exploding. I forgot to bring my notes. Are you in 2,500 stores or 4,500 stores?
We're in a little more than 5,000 now domestically.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. We've been very lucky. We got out the gate. It was a tough road. It was my first time in food and beverage. So we got, and I take all of it. I was getting my ass kicked. We had an initial product that really wasn't where we wanted it to be. I didn't quite understand co-packing the way I do now. I didn't understand distribution the way I do now. So it did take us a good 18 months to get acclimated. And then since basically the middle of 2018, we innovated our puff and then our sticks line. And since then we've been moving, and we're grateful, and we're excited. We're passionate. The core team I've had since the beginning, all of us are just kind of on the same page. We know where we want to go. We know how to get there, and we just need we need the runway. I talk about it often. It's a very expensive business if you're growing. You do need capital, but at the core of it, right, the passion piece. I'm going to the end. I'm going all the way to the end, because this has all the makings of what I believe in, and I love this industry. I love what I'm seeing in it and what we can do as an effective brand for consumers, and I want to take this thing to the top.
I love that. So when I look at your career, right, you have Lane Fitness, then you have the Bridgeline Capital, then you have San Francisco Cooperative. But then you get into food and beverage, and then obviously you have Fitmark. But then you go into food and beverage, which is a completely different category. You said you mentioned that you didn't really know much about it when you got in. But when you were thinking of this idea, did you have any of that, man, I know nothing about this industry. How am I even going to start this? And if you did, how did you start to get over that?
Good question. I started this company the same way that I did the last few. When I got into the bag business before Fitmark, I had founded another bag business called Six Pack. And it really just comes from the desire to do something. So if you have an idea for a product or a brand or a company or a service, you not only need to know exactly what it is, and why you want to bring it to market, but then you have to have the gumption to go find out and talk to people who have been in the space. So for instance, when I wanted to get in the bag business, I made calls and navigated myself, remember, through no referral. I didn't know anybody. So I just had to navigate through a network, right? That's why there's no excuses anymore. There's LinkedIn, and you can navigate yourself to the top of a food chain. And I don't mean physical, no pun intended, food chain, just to the top of the chain. And so I got a hold of two ex-presidents of the largest bag manufacturer. I don't even need to say who it is, the largest bag manufacturer in the world. And it took me some time, but I navigated myself and had two really great conversations. And the two conversations were probably 30 minutes or less. They just provided me just a few answers that I needed before really just going after it. Same thing in the food business. I just made a couple really important calls. I knew what needed to be done, but I didn't know how to manufacture. At that time, it was a chip. So I just made important calls and I got it done. And that's what I'd give, advice to anybody who's starting out is, you are going to need to make the calls, get some information, dial it in, figure out if it can be done. If it can't, why not? And get the answers to your questions, and then just go.
Before you got
the last part's the most important. Just fucking go.
That's the best, and also one of my personal taglines, actually. So I love that. So I'm curious, before you got in touch with the two presidents from those major bag companies, how many like cold emails, LinkedIn outreaches, or phone calls do you think you made before you finally got in touch with those people?
I'd say it wasn't a bunch. I want to say less than 10, because if you know somebody at, even by like third, 3 arms lengths, right? A friend knows the other friend who's an executive. They could be like a middle management at that company. From there, they can refer you to then somebody who is higher up. And from there, you're really only like one call away. Oftentimes, if you're thinking of like the CEO of Walmart, right? You now see him like on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
If I wanted to, I'm not saying, if I really, really in my heart needed to have a conversation with the CEO of Walmart, I could get it done. And I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who works at a Walmart, I don't think, right? Maybe I know a cashier or something, right? But I'll figure out how to do it again, because in this digital age, there really is no excuse. We have platforms like, again, I don't know if this is where this is going to live, like on LinkedIn, who I'm all in on, that can help you. And so take advantage of the opportunities that you have right now with the ability to connect.
That's so huge. And to the listener too, that's kind of how we got connected. Actually, Talia was nice enough to reach out to you and ask you to be on the podcast. And I'm excited about this entire conversation. I feel amped up. I want to go work out, to be honest. So let's dig a little bit more into iWon Organics. So what I love this, by the way, because one of the things that have been challenging for me is finding like a savory snack. I'm not a sweets guy, and I don't even really like fruit, but finding a savory snack that's also good for me. So can you talk about the origin stories, where you got the idea of doing this, and then kind of the build up to where you are today?
Yeah, it was a savory snack that was going to be higher in protein than others in the set or in the category. That was what I was going after. We originally launched a chip that was actually too high in protein, which created a taste and texture that was not going to allow for the build. So I got my bearings and I figured out and really started looking into how ingredients worked, how extruders might work, how a fryer works for chips, that differentiate it from baking the way we bake these snacks, and really just dialed it in. So we use core ingredients like green peas, brown rice, and then another protein source like could be a pea protein or a brown rice protein, which will help lift the protein just a bit, even though there's a protein source from the main ingredient like a green pea that's going to be and provide a little bit of a higher protein level than those in the category. From there, it was going to be what is going to separate us, because it's one thing to be nutritionally balanced, which is the way I eat, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, but it was going to be what's going to make these really stand out. It was going to be flavor. We had to have really punchy, impactful, memorable flavor, which, again, talking on the ladder is all about how you can bring the customer back. You've got to be, I use this word often, you've got to be craveable. So when you're not eating us and you're thinking about a snack, we'd want you to be thinking, I really feel like an iWon Organics, puff. And so that's what we've done. And so, we launched in different retailers, nutritional supplement sets like the GNCs and the vitamin shops. And then we were making our way into our next category, which we knew was going to be the biggest lift and the biggest brand building opportunity, which was going to be natural and conventional grocery. So we had a Whole Foods region of Southern California that launched us. Then we've done Sprouts National. We've done Kroger's out east. We have Safeway here in NorCal. and then a handful of independents throughout the country. So we're building, but it takes time, it takes patience. You have to have your velocities, meaning you actually have to sell on shelf. It's one thing that people miss this a lot. It's one thing to be on shelf. It's another thing for your product to sell. And the latter is the most important. So you got to be patient. We have a lot of opportunities in front of us and ahead of us that we really want to get to. But we want to be patient. We want our partnerships to be meaningful because we want those to grow too. And so that's where we're at.
This is probably this is a question that's a little bit out of left field, but we get a lot of entrepreneurs that are starting their CPG brands that listen to the show, and I'd love to know what your number one piece of advice is for driving demand to a physical retail location in a world that may skew digital.
Yeah, it's because it's digital is how you're going to affect it. There's a few elements. One is going to be, do you have an ambassador relationship of sorts, right? Influencer relationships. We have a lot. We've been very blessed with that. We have a lot of people on our team who talk about our products, and we don't pay them. That's again a separation piece that we went that route because that's the route that we know. I knew we had a product and a brand that people who had influence would be happy and passionate to talk about. I knew they would be happy and passionate to receive the snacks, to eat the snacks, to give their family the snacks. And we leverage that, and we leverage our passion and commitment to the channel to have them push out, the brand and really build awareness. The second piece is going to be what you're able to do on shelf. You do have to do promotions. Formally you could do demos, which you can't do anyway, but you can do coupons and downloading coupons to get what we call trial. You've got to get consumers to try the product, and then you hope, you got the fingers crossed that your product is so good that they come back for more and come back when it's off of promotion. That's the most important part. So then you have the third element, which is just digital advertising. You've got to be on Facebook and Instagram and pushing out, ads in some way, whether or not you're spending or it's working out organically because your Instagram profile is building followers. Those are three big elements that you need for you to be able to pull off shelf.
I love that, man. And you have a ton of, leadership experience too. And for myself and everybody listening, what would you say are your core principles of leadership?
Honesty.
That was it. Fuck.
So, I always say this, I'm so blessed to have this team that I have. I work for them the same way that they work for iWon, and it all goes full circle. Nobody tries to pull a card here about, titles and all that shit. I don't believe in it. I grind. And I think that you couple that with just being a transparent and honest person, people will follow you to the end. And I've seen that from previous companies that I've started to the company that we have now. I've been very blessed to have amazing people working with me, the same that I work with them. And transparency and honesty and realness wins every time. So
I love that, man. And I'd love to just acknowledge your humility and humbleness in this too, because I noticed that when you said I work for them like they work for iWon, you didn't even identify it as you. You understand that it's the brand and the company. And the fact that you don't even think that they work for you and they're actually working for the brand and each other it's a huge testament to your leadership. And obviously your success is a huge testament to your leadership too. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thanks, man.
You mentioned that you had a little bit to do with the branding, and by a little bit, I feel like you did a lot of the branding for iWon. Is that right?
I was involved with it. Yeah, I was involved with it. We have the branding side is an ongoing discussion. It's very interesting. We made mistakes in the initial branding. We got into what you see now, which we're happy with, but I don't even mind saying it. We're right in the middle of what most would consider a rebrand that we hope to be able to share soon. It's going to be, dude, it's so ridiculous. We're just growing, like in all ways. I say always and in all ways. And we're super pumped. Like, we know we've got a good thing right now, but we've got this new sort of look, feel, touch, that would be probably like Q3, Q4 announcement stuff. But dude, it's going to be epic.
So, sorry, I heard an echo there. I was going to say, you mentioned a little bit about the rebranding. Can you let us in on what else is next for you, Mark? Because, man, it looks like you're just like on fire your whole life, starting companies, doing new things. I'm sure iWon isn't the next thing. Is there anything that's been is there an itch that you've been meaning to scratch that you want to start and do?
None. And that's what's so beautiful about this. This is the first time in my career that I know I'm taking this all the way to the end. And if that means 3 years from now, great. If that means 10 years, it took us that long to build this thing to what we truly believe it can be. And does that mean, one of the big players wants to give us tons of money and but wants us to run the show? Like, I don't even think about it. It's so beautiful. I love what we're doing so much that I am not worried about what it looks like in the future. I'm worried about today. And that makes for a really powerful, powerful opportunity for the brand, our team, and where we can take it. So I feel really good, man. And that's a great thing to be in.
I love that, man. I have no doubt you're going to get to everywhere that you want to go with it. And I love your mindset about that too. It seems like, you're obviously very all in on all of this. Before I ask the last question of today, if somebody wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
My email is msamuel@iwonorganics.com.
That's amazing. Thanks for giving that out. And also
Sure.
to the listener too, you got to check this out. Not only are they providing healthy foods, but they also give back to Heart and Hero, or Heart of Hero rather.
Yep.
This really caught my eye because Spider-Man's like making some visits to the hospital. But I love a company that not only has a good mission, but also shows that they're interested in the community. So I love that about your brand. But the last question for today, Mark, last cheat meal you're ever going to eat, and I don't know, you have to abide by your regimented nutrition meal. What is the final cheat meal that you would eat?
Pizza. That's easy, dude. Don't give me easy questions. I will smack if you allow me eating pizza every day, dude. I'm eating it.
Pepperoni, or like, do you go all out, or how does this go?
You know what? I actually put everything on it because, again, at least when I'm eating it, I need a big, healthy, protein source. So there's going to be all the meats and everything on there, vegetables, and yeah, that's my jam right there.
It's funny. We have a couple more minutes, so I want to go through this real quick. What people
Sure.
don't understand is that the Italian mob actually like infiltrated San Francisco for a long time. So the Italian food is absolutely fantastic, and people are always like New York pizza, so on and so forth. If you're on the West Coast and you can't get to New York for whatever reason, just go up to New York, San Francisco. There's some amazing pizza. What's one of your favorite places?
You know what? And we have one here that I'd rather give a shout out. It's called La Coco's. And I've known them forever. It's family owned, right here in Marin County. It's just good. But yeah, there's some good spots in San Francisco. I still like New York. That's a tough one. But again, pizza in general.
Yeah, I've never come across a pizza I didn't like. So yeah. I feel you on that. Mark, thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate it. To the listener, thank you so much for your time and attention. We love it. If you dig the episode, we would love a 5-star review. And if you didn't like it that much, feel free to stick it to us. But be sure to subscribe anyway, because we're going to have a ton of incredible people just like Mark Samuel back on the show. Thanks again, Mark.
Thanks, bud.